The water type, a type that is seen literally everywhere, taking on all sorts of shapes and sizes, allowing it to take roles in every aspect of Pokemon. Anything that could ever be done by a type, the water type has done it. Legendary, mythicals, starters, stinkers, powerhouses, offense, defense, support, good looking Pokemon, ugly looking Pokemon, cover arts, unique forms, just anything really. So let's take a closer look at water, the type Overspilled by the numbers. Before we get into the wide array of water type Pokemon, let's first start by looking at the water type battle properties. When water was first released in the Kanto region, it was super effective against 3 types, all of which are known as being offensive types, as each of these types of fire, ground, and rock are all super effective against at least 4 types, as well as only having 2 weaknesses to types that aren't really seen as offensive weapons. Alongside this, it gets resisted by 3 types and also able to resist 3 types. But in the next generation, Steel was introduced, giving water its 4th and final resistance. Overall, the water type has more positives than negatives, with the qualities of those positives outweighing the qualities of the negatives as well, allowing you to easily place Pokemon of this type into a team without facing any severe drawbacks. Now, let's look at how strong the water type is compared to other types, as well as how frequently they are seen. Just know, the following calculation is only considering regular and regional forms, not megas or alternative forms. The water type had an insane start, flooding the scene with 32 water type Pokemon. This is the most amount of water types seen in a singular generation, but despite being 32 of them, the poison type still had them beat in terms of quantity, with 33 Pokemon. The average base stat total across all of them came to 413. In the next generation of Johto, we see a drop in total amount of water type Pokemon, seeing only 18. But this drop can easily be explained with there just being less Pokemon, going from 151 in Kanto to just 100. The average base stat of these Pokemon came to 421. In Hoenn, we see another surge of high amount of water Pokemon, this time releasing a total of 28 Pokemon. And for those who it may concern, Kyogre is my favorite water type Pokemon out of them all. But despite the sheer greatness of this legendary behemoth, the average base stat of water types in Hoenn comes to the lowest we've ever seen thus far at 401. My idol wasn't enough to carry these stinkers. Alright, let's move on to the Sinnoh region. From here on out, the water type finally starts to hold back on releasing major amount of Pokemon, with this region showing the fewest thus far at 14, with this region also containing a legendary water Pokemon in Palkia. And unlike Kyogre, who was stuck with stinkers, Palkia did not suffer from such a problem, and the Sinnoh region ends up with the highest average base stat value thus far at 441. We then head into the Unova region, releasing 17 water type Pokemon. And looking at this roster, Seismitoad is low-key the coolest. The average base stat amongst all of these Pokemon came to 424. We then get into the Kalos region, seeing the fewest amount of water types in a singular region at 9, making it the only region to not release a double-digit amount of water type Pokemon. But of course, this is because there were only 72 Pokemon released in Kalos. Anyways, the average of these 9 Pokemon was 423. But when looking at just final stage water Pokemon, the average amongst Kalos water types was 533. This is the highest across all regions. We see quite the opposite in Alola however. They released a decent amount of water Pokemon at 13, but the average base stat across all of them comes to the lowest ever at 399. This insanely low value causes the water type to have the lowest average base stat total across all types in the Alola region. A possible reason for this is because the calculation is excluding Wishy-Washy School Form, thus making Wishy-Washy Solo Form be counted towards the final stage stat as well, which also causes Alola to have the lowest across all regions at 455. The reason alternate forms aren't being counted is because elsewise Palkia and Keldeo would have repeat appearances and inflate their respective stats. We then look at the Galar region, only releasing 11 water type Pokemon. I don't got much to say, but check out my shiny Inteleon I got in Pokemon Shield. Oh my god! Also, some of you may have noticed Urshifu Rapid Strike form is not here. Unfortunately, it will be deemed as being an alternate form, as many Pokemon website, including Pokemon themselves, has the single strike form be seen as the primary form. And I don't want to repeat Pokemon for when I make the fighting type video for this series, so make sure to like and subscribe for whenever that comes out. Preceding all that, the water Pokemon from the Galar region comes to an average base stat total of 438. We then head into the final region of Paldea, where we are introduced to only 12 water Pokemon. This causes the Paldea region to have the lowest concentration of water Pokemon across all regions, where only 10% of all Pokemon released in Paldea were affiliated with the water type. The average base stat of all water type Pokemon from the Paldea region is 445. And when added with all the previous Pokemon together, this causes the water type to have an overall base stat average of 419. When adding Hisui and Samurott to the count, which is surprisingly the only water type regional form Pokemon, this average is increased by 1 to 420. This score places water as having the 5th lowest average base stat total across all types. And when looking at just final stage Pokemon, it has the 3rd lowest base stat average at 497. Now, despite it being the 3rd lowest, it can be explained due to the water type having a large number of Pokemon, which is bringing down the stats because most of them are just basic Pokemon. Speaking about large number of Pokemon, look at this chart. You can see that the water type is slowly dwindling the number of Pokemon it's releasing. But this just might be because it just can't keep up with the old days, as it is still releasing a fairly high amount today. Back in Kanto, almost 22% of all Pokemon were water type, but now only 15% of all Pokédex Pokemon are water type. The one regional form added makes 155 out of 1080 regular and regional form Pokemon be associated with the water type, and drops this value to 14.3%, or 1 in every 7 Pokemon. This value is the highest of all types, which means the water type leads all types on being the most common. It was so frequently seen in the early days that it only took 5 generations for the amount of water types to surpass 100. For comparison, it took normal 7 generations, flying and grass 8 generations, and the psychic type being the newest member of the 100 club, with it joining the club in the 9th region. So now we've seen the water type properties, their quality and quantity, but there are still a few things left to look at before we get into how good they are and competitive. For instance, we need to look at the playstyle and what the water type likes to be played as. Are they offensively oriented on the physical side like fighting, or do they rather use special attacks like psychic? Perhaps they rely on speed like electric or flying. Maybe they have high defense stat like rock and steel, or perchance they have high HP like normal or ice. The answer is all of them. There are just so many water Pokemon that they are able to meet every single situation needed in a Pokemon battle. Take a look at this stat. According to Pokemon database, these are the ranking for type stat averages in comparison to all other types. The water type has never ranked in the top 6 or bottom 6 for any of the stat categories, but instead always in the middle 6 rankings. None of the other 17 types has such a balance when it comes to their average stat, where they all have at least one of the 6 categories either be something they excel at or something they are terrible at, but not water type though, showing that they really can do it all, making it a true jack of all trades. This is even seen with its moveset as well. You need a reliable physical and special water attack, then you got Surf and Liquidation. Need one with high base power and 100 accuracy, you got Water Spout and Wave Crash, although there may be some side effects. Need attacks that have a chance to inflict status condition? Well, you got Scald that can inflict burn, and Waterfall that may cause flinching. Yes, flinch does count as being a status condition. And if that wasn't enough, they also got a priority move in Aqua Jet, and a move that enables them to deal damage and switch out in the same turn, with Flip Turn. All of these moves are used in specific instances, but all you need to know is that the water type does have moves, unlike the rock type. Bruh. Last thing I want to look at before we talk about the water type's performance in competitive Pokemon is dual typing. Now yes, since there are so many water types, they have been paired up with every type at least once. But this section will look at if it gets paired up with the better known types more frequently than the bad typings. This part will be analyzed by comparing water Pokemon typing to those stated in Wolfie's video about all type combination. In his video, the worst 3 possible water type dual typing was water ice, water grass, and water rock. This combination was seen a total of 14 times across final stage water Pokemon, which is a lot until you realize that it's basically identical to the number of times the water gets matched with good types, which in Wolfie's video were water dragon, water ground, and water fairy, which was seen a total of 13 times across final stage water Pokemon, showing that there isn't really a bias with Game Freak selecting the dual typing for water Pokemon. And I mean, there doesn't need to be any, since the water type cohesiveness with others almost always makes it a relatively good type, regardless of who it's matched with. And according to Flaming Drake, in Wolfie's type combination video, the water type had the 2nd highest average ranking for all of its typing, with it on average placing in 44th, which is only slightly below the steel type's average ranking, the type that is easily considered to be the best type to be paired up with, since it does have 10 resistances. Anyways, shout out to this Flaming Drake guy because I didn't consider calculating this part myself. Now, let's see if this huge collection of Pokemon, variety of attacks, and all possible dual typings allow for water to compete in all facets of competitive Pokemon. Just know the data collected for this part is from Pikalytics and was extracted on May 25th, 2025. Pokemon usages could have increased or decreased from when you are watching this video. Let's start as usual with the Uber tier. In this tier, there exists 4 water type Pokemon in the top 20 for usage rate, with the most predominantly used water type being the 3rd ranked Kyogre. This tier is normally dominated by the big name legendaries, in which Kyogre fits the bill. High special attack, great move coverage, ability that causes rain to boost own damage or to stop Koraidon, and it also has pretty good bulk with only 2 weaknesses. As for other water types, the only way they can compete with the other behemoths is to take up a defensive wall type of role that has access to recovery moves. This is because there exists no grass or electric type Pokemon that are prevalent in this format, for reasons stated in my grass and electric type video, so go check them out if you haven't already. And since they don't really have a direct weakness, the water type is easily able to fill the role of being defensive. But let's see what the water type can do in the OU format that removes the dominant Mons. In this tier, we see 5 water types in the top 30 for usage rate, and the water type does more than defend in this tier, which is covered by Dondozo, Alomamala, and Toxapex. It is also seen in offensive situations with the likes of Samara and Ogerpon, who has high attack stat and either an item or ability to boost damage even further. Plus, they both use knockoff to remove opponent's held item. And besides just offense and defense, the water type can also be used as a hazard setter, with Toxapex Toxic Spike or Samara Ceaseless Edge, which isn't affected by taunt or magic bounce. And just outside the top 30, in rank 31 and 32, are 2 water types which can be used as special attackers, which leads to water having everything covered in the OU format. And since it can do it all, how good is the water type when it has to do it all by itself? Let's look at the monotype format, a format where a team must fully consist of 6 Pokemon that all share a common type. In this format, water places in the middle for when its 6 most used Pokemon is seen. Despite having everything, it doesn't dominate this format. This is because water is normally a complementary type to complete a team rather than being the star of the team. Despite their large pool of Pokemon, it is quite rare to ever see water taking the lead as the best and or ace Pokemon. Let's look at these aces. Ash Greninja had special attack above even Kyogre, with one of the highest speed stat in the game, plus a stab move that could flinch and a stab move that gives priority. Primal Kyogre. Kyogre was already good enough with 150 special attack plus rain, but these extra stats definitely puts it over the edge. Dracovish. I don't know what drugs Game Freak was on when deciding to make this Pokemon, but if this Pokemon outspeeds you, then you literally just die. Vicious Rend is hitting for a base power of 382 when outspeeding, with the combination of Strong Jaw and Stab. When rain is added, it goes to 574, and goes all the way up to 861 if Dracovish existed in the Terra era. This water damage output is only second to a max health Kyogre's water spout, just because Dracovish base attack stat is a measly 90. He low-key not really an ace, I just wanted to mention its ridiculous powers. And finally that last ace, Urshifu Rapid Strike, which is dominating VGC 2025 Regulation Set I Showdown. In this format, there exists 2 water types in the top 10. Kyogre, an insane water Pokemon with high stats and ability to bring rain. And the top dog, Urshifu, who by the way is Kyogre's #1 recommended teammate, so that its damage can be boosted by the effects of the rain. Urshifu is the most lethal and unstoppable Pokemon in this format. It's one of the strongest physical sweeper that is accessible. Its signature move Surging Strike allows it to not only bypass stat changes, but also always hit as critical, allowing it to be one of the best Pokemon to take down the annoying Incineroar. And it doesn't stop there. Due to its typing, it has access to stab damage against 7 types to deal with a wide range of Pokemon. Its ability Unseen Fist allows it to pierce Protect, so that they are forced to mitigate the damage by using someone that can resist water type attacks. And if that wasn't enough, it can also learn U-turn to get itself out of any situation. All this put into one unit whose type is also able to do it all, makes it one of the best options available in the VGC format. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the recent lack of water Pokemon is a sign that we will finally see a new type take over the characteristics of the water type in the future? Or do you think Game Freak will continue to produce water types at a high rate that facilitates all level of Pokemon and remain the type overspilled by the numbers?